good afternoon. I hope you're doing well. I hope the lockdown exit is going okay for you. I'm Guillaume Carlier, the head of content and innovation for Propelled by MIPIM. I'm sure now you're getting used to the daily talks quite well. Just a quick remember for the one who was joining for the first time. It's every day 4 p.m. Paris time. It's one of several speakers presenting a topic for 20 minutes, and then there is this 10 minutes Q&A session. When you take the control with the bottom of your screen, you can click on the click on the Q&A button, sorry, and give us the question. Today, I'm really happy to receive Havard Haukeland, the CEO and co-founder of Spacemaker. Hi, Havard. I hope you can hear me well. And yeah.
Yes, I can. Hello.
Perfect. And you should be actually joined by Daniel Siraj from the CEO of OBOS really soon. Really great. Really happy to have you here today. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Happy to be here.
I guess maybe you want to do a quick intro, waiting for Daniel, and hope you will join us soon.
Yes, I can do. He just wrote to me that he's trying to log in, and I'm not sure why it's not working, but I can do, absolutely. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Spacemaker, and this topic is about successful digital transformation and about how real estate businesses need to not just procure services from, but collaborate closely with innovative startups. And they need to shift their thinking from IT as a cost on the side to IT as a cost in the core. And Daniel will join me for this conversation about how to achieve this transition and the importance of these innovation clusters to drive collaboration and new solutions across the entire value chain.
I think you've been joined by Daniel. Really happy.
Hello. Some technical difficulties here, but finally on.
Great, thank you very much for being with us. So the mic is yours. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you in 20 minutes for 25, maybe a bit more for the Q&A session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Daniel, I just started here by introducing our topic, but to introduce you as well, and starting with OBOS. OBOS is among the biggest developers of housing in the Nordics, and also among the biggest residential managers in Europe, I believe, managing over 240,000 apartments on behalf of more than, 4,000 privately owned tenant associations and condominiums. It's a company with a 90-year-old history, or some might call it legacy, yet at the same time it has become a pioneer in digital transformation. And OBOS has been a Spacemaker partner since our early days, and even before we get started, I'd like to tell you a bit more about the work we've been doing together, Daniel, to also give some insights into what it is that Spacemaker does, and then give the word to you. Okay?
Great.
Okay. So I'll just start by picking up. Just share the screen here for you. Just let me know if you don't see it. You see the screen here now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I'll just very quickly touch on two projects, just so to give you some color. So this is a project in the Nordics where the OBOS team used Spacemaker to support the early phase of the development. So its name is sensitive, but in this project, OBOS held an architectural competition with 3 competing firms and had support from and used Spacemaker software throughout the process. So the architects used Spacemaker to create their proposals, and in an iterative fashion, using the software and its generative design and analysis and capabilities. And then upon submission, the proposal were then compared in this fact-based and objective manner using the analysis of Spacemaker. So as an important input to OBOS's decision-making process. So with the analysis, OBOS selected the winning proposal, and OBOS believed that this is a good proposal for maximizing the value of the site. It has 18% more sellable or rentable area than the minimum requirement and the starting point model on the site. And it's also, as you can see on this slide, this project performs well on building system and living qualities. It has good sound conditions, good noise conditions, good daylight conditions, view conditions, and so on. And that's really what the software is about. And I'll show you another example as well. Another project in Norway, in Oslo, with 600 housing units. And you can see here that the software was used to follow this structured and analytical process, and included a thorough analysis of the site and its premise, and a generation of thousands of different alternatives, and then identifying tendencies, deep analysis of each possible concept, execution of parallel architectural competition, and then using the software to evaluate the bids and then select the winner. So subsequently further optimize and enhance the winning design. And by doing this, OBOS relatively quickly came to a design that is believed to maximize the potential of the site, and has at least told us that they believe they've saved a lot of time, perhaps even up to a year of the development process. And what I would like to finish off with before I give the word to you, Daniel, is that Økernveien, which this project is called, is a complicated project. So there are noise waves from multiple sources, challenging daylight conditions when combined with high density and more than 20 buildings, which block and reflect both noise and daylight. So to find the optimal pattern of building shapes and footprint and heights, it become clear in this project that sophisticated software can really help. And many of the assumptions that initially were made proved wrong with the help of the software. So that's really just to give you a quick intro of two projects. And before I give the word to you on some questions, Daniel, if you would like to say something about the projects, and feel free to do so now.
I think what this really shows, and these are just a few of the examples that we have experienced lately, is how technology in this aspect and Spacemaker has helped us in both by actually solving problems, but also in a way redefining how we work and documenting how we work. Because as you saw on the first slide, what we normally meet and as I'm sure a lot of you residential developers out there meet, is that as a developer, your only concern is about how many square meters or square foot do you actually cram into this very, very small lot. But as you can see, we didn't go for the alternative with the highest number of square meters. We actually went for one in between, but where all necessary quality requirements. So it actually helps us taking into account the qualities of the plot in a very early phase. And that's been a revelation in this kind of work, where we have introduced quality measures on a much earlier phase of our planning. And we actually do that now even on the acquisition side. So just want to pinpoint that, because that's one of the many misunderstandings. And I think technology will help us with and Spacemaker in particular in this area will help us document the quality processes we actually do before opting for a certain development.
Thank you. And Daniel, we're here to talk about what elements are needed to make this collaboration with startups, and more generally this digital transformation that you're talking about, of really helping a corporate like OBOS with such a long history successful. And as the CEO of OBOS, I just want to kind of put it in context, because the Nordics is among the most digitally mature markets in the world, with lots of open digital data and publicly available data. It has the highest BIM, among the highest BIM adoption in the world. And even in this market, OBOS has proven to be one of the most tech savvy players. And you have invested in several startups. You put a bet on different technologies at early stages, and your balance sheet looks good. So let's just start with a small question. How did you do it?
How did we do it? It's basically about putting forward a strategy. I think we have always invested in technology in OBOS. We have this super computer system running our residential management system at the moment that we have developed ourselves over the last 30, 40 years. And actually, when we're looking into new modern systems, they won't be as efficient as the one we've developed. So this is a long track record of investing quite early in technology. But what we have done when we put forward, I took over as the CEO in 2015, I mean, and we together with the organization, we thought it's when you have done the same thing or developed for such a long time, it's a good thing to look what do we do well, and where is there a need for a change, because we were a success story. So you have to kind of redefine your success in order to develop. So and one of those things we identified through that strategy process, that we needed to adapt more quickly to what's happening in technology, and actually stepping up a bit, not only working with our core systems, but in particular in how we meet our customers. And we in our strategy we introduce a couple of measures. We call it, we have a very simple map of our strategy, and in the top right corner there's a thing called the next big thing, that's really defining, to be curious about the unknown, to dare to think bold, to actually putting resources and having people to implement those great thoughts, and then actually going out and evaluating what we do and constantly reshaping how we work with that. And that ended up with a quite ambitious digital strategy too, forming our own digital division from 2017. And now from 2020, we also merged the digital division with our IT department, going from merging the internal focus on systems to the external customer focus in one very big unit. And by 2022, we will have invested about $100 million in about 6 years on new technology, changing core, new digital systems, and so on. So it's all about deciding and being bold in our moves.
Yeah, that's definitely bold, and also inspiring, of course, from a startup perspective, but I believe also from many of the other corporates listening. But a question that rises then is how do you spend this money? How do you source new technology, and how do you decide which one to invest in?
I think one of the things we discovered quite early is you can't do this on your own, and you can't only do this with those established players. So quite early in our strategy phase, we put innovation in our we joined as a partnership with Startup Lab in Oslo, and through that we got in contact with a lot of small startups and found a way of balancing those huge mammoth projects that we do in Microsoft and their partners with those small innovation, small IT projects that we do with startups like Convertelligence that we use for chatbots. We have Ignite Procurement that we have worked with our procurement, identifying our procurement processes for our housing corporation, and then meeting up with you in Spacemaker, trying to do a combination of the innovation and the agility of the small startups and connecting to that at the same time as doing those very heavy processes that huge corporations are well known and have to do. You can't do just one of them. You have to combine the two, and then organizing yourself to be able to meet those two patterns to sourcing technology.
And this is a topic that I find particularly interesting as well. It's kind of the implementation part of it, because there is a lot of technology out there that works, and that, where the technology exists, but it's very much about implementation. So how do you then collaborate with the startups? And at some point, you often, I know that you often decide to roll out a new technology, right? So what happens then? At what point do you decide to roll out a new technology? Can you explain a little bit?
There's no clear handbook. It's all about people, It's all about people meeting the right people and having the right will. If I hadn't believed in in a decision like and introducing Spacemaker, it probably would have died in its shoes at that day, because that was such a huge investment. It was taking such a big step from a residential developer whose only IT expense was their annual subscription fee to Microsoft Office licenses, and paying a part of corporate overhead, to actually investing in their own software solutions that are specially designed for their processes. That's one. The other thing is actually having people around, not only on senior management level, but on all the other levels too, who dare to try, to give those startups access to train on our customers, like daring to take Ignite procurement, letting them into our systems, analyzing how our housing corps actually purchase, and being able to put together those solutions. We work, and those small, and now the latest success is our success with Unlock, who's working with, we have searched for a long time for technology that allowed us to give easy access to those. And we've looked at the established players, but they were very into their own ecosystem. But when we found Unlock, or they found us at Startup Lab, we actually discovered that we had the market, and we have the market access and the trust that our customers need in order to give market access. But Unlock had the technology and the skills to actually make our product work. So merging our trust and market knowledge with the technology has been the success of that this far. And we think that will be one of our greatest success with the cooperation with the startup.
And Unlock is a keyless is a keyless solution for door locks. So for information. So okay, but then because that's a great point. And how about your internal structures then? Because when you experiment with the technology, and especially when you start implementing it, it probably requires changes to your internal structures. So what changes do you have to make? Especially within a developer company like yourself, to accomplish that?
I think there are several aspects. One is culture. It's all about daring to try, and to build a culture where we want to be a bit more tech savvy, and then going for the safe solutions every time. It's all about training, to train people, train your champions. In order for us to actually use Spacemaker as a tool, you have to train a lot of people. And we actually discussed this morning together with my team. How would you train more people in order to utilize the license we buy even more, and to integrate it in more of our processes in order to maximize the value of this product? And we can't ask our partner to do that. We have to train our own people in order to do that. And then you have to have people available. We have a lot of incoming messages. So we have our own M&A department who works with the corporate and business side of it. So not only do we work with the customer or the solution, we also work at it from an investment side to analyze, is this a sound business model? Because when we introduce partners in our huge ecosystem, we would like to know and understand the business model. Is this a business model we want to take part of, or is it just a business model where we are happy to sit on the side and be a customer? But through that vetting, through our M&A and venture arm, we also get a very sound grip of, is this a viable business model in our perspective in the long term? Do we dare to? Because many initiatives die because you don't trust that other party. But if you have people actually going into the value proposition of the unit, is this a viable business over time? You will quickly understand if this is something you dare to try. And having all those competence in-house, instead of being reliant on your external M&A advisor or some consultancy firm who are eager to push their own hours, that's important for us. So we are building more in-house competence and getting rid of those external consultants in much more.
Mm. Yeah, that's very interesting because technology is about people and implementation is very much about people. Are there other elements around that? Like, for example, with the middle management, I know that's a key puzzle in much of technology implementation.
You can't do anything without middle management. So you have to, that's why internal communication and actually training middle management to think differently is important. And also listen, not only train them to what you think is right, but also listen, because middle managers are actually the people who are in the middle of solving the problems you're searching to solve by using technology. So if you don't listen to middle management's concern, you end up with those management-driven technology projects that will go wrong because nobody will ever use them. And the middle management actually introduce the competence to the process and gives the necessary feedback in order. I know you have experienced it from our people, the pushback you need to adapt your project. And if you don't allow that pushback to go further, you won't get the full benefits of using technology and developing.
Exactly, and I really like that point. And in the early discussions we had as well of rolling this out and standardizing it on your portfolio, I know that even though, like you said, you need the top management to be really wanting to do this, but that's not the only thing you need, because you also need the middle management. And I remember you told me that, listen, Håvard, I can push this on people because it will never be successful anyway. You will need to convince the middle management as well. And I think that's very important, because you need a push, but you also need a pull. Also, when kind of you have signed an agreement of rolling this out, you still also need to keep working on implementing it. And one of the things that we have done, which I think has been important with the OBOS case, is that we've trained super users internally, because this is a project industry, and it's called the blank sheet industry, because you basically start from scratch with every project. And then if you have a super user that can bring knowledge across the different projects, it also drives adoption and knowledge sharing. But okay, so I see we don't have that much time left, Daniel, but there's a couple of more questions that I think one of them is one that the audience might wonder, and that's how the current situation under COVID-19 has changed things, and especially with respect to innovation and investing in technology.
I think for many companies, we have to respect that this is very serious. Their liquidity is drying up, their customer base is eroding, and you're on the bare bones. Today we had a meeting where our Swedish boss told me they are now laying off or reducing staff by approximately 150 people this year due to a less production rate than they had before. And you have to kind of balance the scales a bit. You have to cut costs also on IT projects and your pet projects within this, but also at the same time identifying which investments do you need to do for the future. And I think it's dangerous to just be very short-sighted and thinking about saving costs in the short term. And if in our industry the IT and digital transformation stops for some time, the cost will be much heavier. I see this as a window of opportunity. Now we can get talent, and we see that now we get talent that we didn't get before, because OBOS, as a sound and solid company with huge ambitions, will be attractive to develop software developers and the people we need in that aspect. And we also want to use the opportunity to purchase at lower rates than we did before, because when somebody else is reducing their demand, we are in a position to actually increase our demand for new services. To sum it up, don't cut all spending on the future, but prioritize well within the boundaries of what your business can allow.
Very interesting. I think this comes back to what we started with as well, of the difference between thinking about IT on the side versus core cost that can really have a significant impact on your business. If you really believe that technology investment will pay off a couple of years later, then investing in it now, even in a climate like this, will probably.
You know, like in a business like ours, we invest in land every year, hundreds of millions of dollars in land every year. So if we invest $25 million in IT and digital projects next year, it's just a small dent in comparisons to every other investment we have to do for the future. And that is how I think you should go over your investment budget and allocate what's needed to future-proof your business.
Okay, so closing up here, we've talked a lot about kind of advices for corporates, but what about advice to startups who wants to break into this industry? What's your advice?
I think one of the most important things is to analyze your customer. Too many times I would say I get a general pitch that is used for every corporation that you meet, whether it's a small developer or a luxury developer or a developer like OBOS. But identify your customer's need. Prepare yourself when you're going to pitch. We get a lot of pitches, and those pitches that are too general, they will probably be washed out and won't be interesting enough. But if you show enough interest for that individual customers, whether it be small or big, you will be able to attract their interest, because you have understood what our problems are and how you want to help us solve that. And that is a very good start of a conversation. And as we talked about a lot, Havard, it's all about trust. Building those relationships, not only with your senior management, but that is the natural point of pitching, but also with those middle managers, and being able to sustain that relationship like you do in every other business. Keeping your customers close is really important, and even more important in the development business, where a lot of business is relationships. That's the two things.
Yeah, I really like that. So do your homework and build trust and be patient, maybe. So
yeah.
Okay, I think I think we need to go to Q&A.
Yeah, I'm back. Thank you very much for this conversation. It's really cool. It's like we can feel the link and the relationship between you. Thank you very much to share that with us. We'll have already some questions, and so I will go for the first one, which is a question for both of you, which is, why do you believe that the construction industry has generally been a slow adopter of technology? Who wants to?
Yes, perhaps you would.
I'll
would you like
start.
to start.
I've been there the longest.
Yes.
I think that's because we haven't needed to. There hasn't been a need for your main resources for producing what you produce is basically has been non-digital, and the customer hasn't really demanded digital until now, and it's the customer-driven digitalization that has driven the construction side and also our side of the table. So I think that's the sum about, we haven't needed it before, and then you don't invest in what you don't need. That's a basic.
Okay, do you want to add something, Havard?
Well, we often hear that the industry is local, and especially from investors who look into this sector, the question, like, how do you make this a scalable offering? How can you build a technology that's relevant to a very fragmented and local industry, where there's local nuances and local building codes and local processes and local companies and everything? So that's also potentially a reason why it's been less digital development.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Then next question is a bit more for you, Havard. What has been your greatest challenge when creating your startup? What was it? The access to capital or access to anything else?
Mm-hmm. The greatest challenge, from our perspective, access to capital has we've not been that hard actually, but I would say that you know, access to talent is always a challenge, and especially when you come from a corner of the world like the Nordics. But it's actually been a quite good talent pool here, and now we're global, so it's also easier. But I would say that the most challenging thing has been to, like Daniel said, to understand the customer's needs, because it takes time, and I would especially also say that implementation has been challenging because it involves a lot of people. It's a local industry, and even though you see the technology is creating amazing results, it's all about transforming the way people work and think, and when you're a technology company tapping into an existing value chain, you also get that people fear and maybe also get confused about what your offering is. Are you consultants taking our jobs? Are you not? How are you like there's a lot of confusion and fear. So and also from a person level, when people are used to drawing by hand and then they go into being able or should change to drawing with AI on your shoulder and generative design, it's a big leap, right? So implementation is really the biggest challenge, I would say.
Thank you very much. Would have okay, I had my question, but just another question appeared for Daniel. Daniel, do you see any problem to be solved related to structural engineering, the RIB, sorry, in the AEC industry? What should be like digitalized?
We seldom we seldom delve into those aspects in our line of business, as we are mainly a residential developers. We leave a lot of those processes to our construction companies working with us, and so I wouldn't really give a meaningful answer to that question. It was just but I think the entire value chain has to adapt to a new world. I think that's in a couple of years there will be no part of the construction process that will be will have to do without changing and being in a more digital part of the processes. So there's no room. Even our carpenters are now digitalized. They have their apps registering their work every day in order to take picture of when they complete a task. They take a picture of the task ahead, they check out digitally and get their payroll adjusted according to that. So that's how far that end of it has come at the moment, and that will just be rolling out all over the companies at the moment and going forward.
Great, thank you very much. We used to finish with the actual situation with the COVID, but Havard already asked you. So I would have one more question, because when we hear this conversation, your speech, it looks like you really like to work with the startups, with this new kind of tech generation. Do you feel like you have a mission towards this new generation?
I think as an established player, and also personally, as now I'm not that old, but I'm still I'm still a senior in many aspects. It's our role to, as the biggest players, to give room for the new, for new businesses. If we just keep within they won't have the same possibility to try. And it's a part of the mission. And if we're going to create more jobs, that's what's on top of agenda in every country at the moment. If we're going to create more jobs, somebody has to give room for those new jobs and be able to develop that. And a lot of that then we have to take our part of that, being able to invest in that. And I think also the long-term perspective that businesses need to take now. Not short-sightedness, not just the next dividend payout to our owners, but also to think about future generation, future value creation, It's about taking responsibility for now in this situation, but the short-sightedness is it's very close to a conclusion that we need to adapt and cut costs. So from my perspective, and personally, I find it that's one of the fun things about working with this. All those new ideas, we would never be able to generate those ourselves in a meaningful way. If we were to do it, they would take thrice the time, 10 times the amount of money, and we wouldn't have ended up with that good solution. So it's the combination of the startups, innovation, and agility with our knowledge that will drive the change.
Thank you for that answer, for actually being that honest with us. So that's great. Thank you very much for having this talk today. We're quite happy we had you for this daily talks. And I don't know what we can wish you, but yeah, a good follow for this collaboration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us, and wish everybody on the call here a great day. Thank you for listening.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Best
you.
wishes.